Jalen Williams with his best game of the finals, 26 points in game 3, did it efficiently, 9 of 18 shooting, 7 of 11 from the line. Let's hear from him with 3D.
All right, guys, here with J-Dub. You just talked about playing 45 minutes. How tough is it to get your body right in 48 hours?
I don't know. I like the quick game turnarounds. I feel like the longer that you sit out, like the longer you could be sore. But it's been good. I've had 3 years of practice just getting my body right. Just over the course of time, what I've learned is everything you do during the season helps you for this moment. So I've been pretty good.
I've been around you guys now the last 2 years, so many games. What did you learn from game 3?
That you got to go out and earn a win. We let some crucial parts of the game slip away, too many turnovers, and just small things beat you. You know what I mean? So
all season long, we've talked about you guys' bench. Aaron Wiggins had a great game 2. TJ comes off, Benedict comes off. How do you slow down guys off the bench like that?
I think just being aware, like I said, a lot of it was, our mistakes. We had a lot of unforced turnover. I think TJ had like 5 steals. Yes. So, trying to take that part of the game out of it. But, also you got to give credit to them too. Just like Wiggs is ready to play, they're ready to play as well. So we got to look back and see what things we can do to kind of slow that down.
When you watch the film on yourself, what do you see the difference between games 1 and 2 for game 3, why you played so well?
Just being aggressive, still picking my spots, putting pressure on the rim, but a lot of it's just, making shots at the end of the day, you know what I mean? I've had the same attack and the same mentality the whole entire time, and I'm a pretty good player, so eventually the shots will go in if I keep at it.
I love your confidence. Boy, we've been around each other so long now, but now how do you take this confidence, because you've been here before, and make sure you get a victory for game 4?
I think exactly that. When you've been in familiar territory, it definitely does give you a little bit of confidence going into the game. We know what we have to do, and we're going to look at the drawing board, prepare all day, and get our minds ready to play.
Appreciate you.
Cool. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, so Jalen Williams, obviously a huge piece for OKC here. And if he can continue to play the way that he did in game 3, I mean, that is going to be massive. What did you see from him?
And I know he said he's had the same mindset, but he hasn't attacked nearly as much as he attacked last game. And I think he was free last game. Other than at the free throw line, when it slowed down, I think he's been good. More importantly for me is he's been efficient, taking good shots. He's missed some shots, some questionable shots. He's let the defense dictate his shots a lot of times. He did all things he could do to dictate offense the way he got to the spots he wanted to. He was patient, but he also played with much more force.
So Denver, in that series versus OKC, they were also up 2-1 at one point, and OKC was able to respond, have been able to respond after every loss, really, in these playoffs. I mean, how much do you take from that experience, or is that completely different?
Well, you take something from that experience. Unfortunately, the stakes keeps getting higher in the finals. Now you can't turn it over. Now you just can't turn it on when you want to, because you're playing a team right now is in the finals for a reason. The Indiana Pacers have been through a whole bunch of different scenarios as well, going throughout their run in the Eastern Conference. And this scenario right now is they're playing in Indy.
Right.
And that crowd is just as loud as OKC's crowd. And they have a lot of different guys that can make buckets and make plays. And I think the confidence of the Pacers are starting to grow even more.
Would you go back to Hartenstein in the starting lineup? I think Grant Hill and Charles Barkley were talking about this the other night. And why go away from something that won you so many games, 68 games during the regular season? You had success in the playoffs. What's your thought on that?
I'm with those guys. I still don't understand it. I know you get a chance to have smaller guys, you play faster. But I don't think you want to play that fast against the Indiana Pacers. I think there's a situation where if I was playing the Knicks, I might want to speed them up. I don't want to speed the Pacers up. And I think by getting a guy with that much size as a small, I remember, I got another 6'6" guy. I can hold him off with one arm. To box out Hartenstein, I got to go turn, put some effort in it, take some legs, and it'll take away from me that one little quick count that I can get out on a break. So I definitely don't understand why they didn't stay big and will not go back with starting the game off big.
So
and also, Cason Wallace hadn't played well in the starting lineup.
Right. He doesn't have that much experience himself, right? I mean, he's the guy who's still learning on the fly right now, too. You saw Alex Caruso there moments ago. He spoke to the media.
Yeah, I think Indiana played better for the majority of the game. I think we had stretches where we played good, but I think that we played on their terms more than we played on our terms of, how the game wanted to be and how the game wanted to flow. And, I think that was apparent just with, the runs that they went on when they played well were, 9, 10, 12-point runs, and ours were more like 6, 7-point runs. So I think that's probably the thing that stood out the most.
Alex, how you doing? You've been in this position in Denver 1-2 down, and you tied the series and you won it finally. Which one you should say should be the 1-2 first adjustments for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think just the competitive greatness for this team has to be at an all-time high. To be able to go on the road and win a game is a difficult thing in the playoffs, but especially, being down, staring 3-1 down in the face, you gotta really, get your mind right and get ready for the preparation that it's going to take to go out there and compete for 48 minutes and get the win.
It's easy to handle the situation between Shea and Jalen. They lost the ball turnovers 10 between them. It's weird. Mm-hmm. It's easy to correct that, talking about them?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and actually look at the actual turnovers. I'm not sure where they came from, the specific plays. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I think that's an abnormal game for them. I think, their norm all year has been to take care of the ball and to get us great shots as a team. So, yeah, I expect them to find that form again.
My last one very quick. Did you surprise when you were playing the game with the level of intensity of their defense?
No, I thought, like I said, I think there were stretches where we, kind of dominated the game and played the way we wanted to, particularly on the defensive end. I think that, they just did a better job, and maybe that's, coming back home, they had a little more juice, a little more pop. Mm-hmm. But I think for the most part, I think when we did what we wanted to do and we executed how we wanted to play, it was good for us.
Thank you.
Alex, obviously, you're the only one with PBA Finals experience in the team. Mm-hmm. And besides the obvious 5 years ago of the bubble versus now, what would you say, has the experience being in the finals kind of been similar to what you felt in the bubble? Has been
Yeah, I think the real difference is just that, like, I was in my third year in the NBA, and 2 of those were on two-way. So, like, I was still learning a lot at the time, whereas now I think, like, that was my first playoff run. That was the first time I'd been to the playoffs, was the year we won the championship. So I think going through a couple of seasons in between that and losing the playoffs, getting to the playoffs, and now here, being on this stretch run again and getting here and having a chance to win it, just my knowledge of the game and my understanding of the situations, I relied a lot on the veteran team that we had the year we won the championship, and we had multiple guys 10, 15 years in the league. Like, it's an astounding number. So I think being on the other side of that now, being the guy who's had the most experience and trying to give the guys the right mindset and the right course corrections is probably the biggest difference.
What makes them such an effective defense transition and way for the entire season, and particularly in this series?
Yeah, I think it starts with their offense. I think they do a good job of putting teams behind the ball, putting teams in actions where they're chasing and maybe not influencing, and then from there they usually get good shots and efficient shots, and even then if they're not, they have you moved around to where it's not it's not the same scenario where you're breaking out. Some of that also is they do a good job of getting back and loading to the ball. Just a couple of times last night I'm bringing it up, and there's a guy in each gap, and there's nowhere to really find a crease early in the possession. But yeah, I think it probably starts with their offense and people not influencing enough on what they're doing.
How do you go about slowing down or rendering less effective a guy like Jalen Williams?
Yeah, guard him better. That would be a good start. Don't give him the ball 90 feet away from the basket on offense. TJ played the way that he plays last night, and he impacted the game. I've seen that from him for a number of years now. We know what the scout is on him, and he does a good job of finding ways to impact the game still. But yeah, I think just keep him out of the paint, and then obviously don't throw him the ball under the basket 90 feet. Yeah, I mean, at least in the scenarios where you're taking the ball out, because he does have those, him, Jose Alvarado, they have those kind of sneaky ability to come back and steal some of those inbounds passes. But that's for the most part. I mean, that's kind of his bread and butter. That's his staple. So, just some of that's just mental error on our part too, is playing a little too quick. Maybe take a second, read the floor.
What makes him good at it even when you know that's coming? I mean, like, you obviously know that on film. You're playing TJ. You know that's the thing he does. What makes him effective at it, even if everybody knows he can do it?
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on in a basketball game at the same time, and if you go through a tough possession and then they make a shot, and all of a sudden, there's 3 guys in the paint, it's a little crowded. There's a lot of stuff to look at rather than just trying to find the one guy running in, guarding the ball.
In game 2, bench scoring was like the X factor that kind of had the victory. Is that going to be like a priority that we see in game 4? Because in game 3, maybe the rotations were like the bench guys didn't get as many minutes as they normally get in game 2. Would that be something that's a priority in game 4?
I don't know. That's a Mark question. I don't have control over how many minutes we get to play.
What's like the priority of scoring?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like we don't run set plays for most people on our team. Most people on our team, we get set plays out of the actions or we get shots out of the actions and off of the the coverages of teams with our main engine guys. So some of that's just the ball finding you. Like I think I only had 5 shots last game, or the other game I had, I got 8 threes up just through the flow of the game, and maybe I missed 1 or 2 that I could have taken last night. But for the most part, it's not like a concentrated effort to like make sure I get in the game and score, or like Wiggs get in the game and score, or whoever it is. We do a pretty good job of letting the game tell us what to do.
The turnovers, and how quickly do you forget those situations? And do you sometimes have guilty feeling about the result of the game?
Sorry, what was the second question? Guilty feeling. Yeah, I mean, anytime you lose, you think about every play that, could have gone a different direction, and that you were involved in the game. That's just normal for basketball. If you don't think about it like that, then, you're probably not trying to get better. You probably don't hold yourself to the standard that you need to. But yeah, in the game, I mean, that's the biggest thing with basketball, especially just because the possessions turn over so quickly, is getting to the next one. If you don't do a good enough job, getting over the mistake or the turnover or the missed shot, then you're probably lingering into the next possession, and now you're rendering yourself, in a bad position there. So that is a skill to get over, and I think for the most part we have guys that do a good job of getting through that.
We actually need a partner from Thailand. What is your mentality on playing defense?
Just trying to make it difficult for the other team. I think the biggest thing is just having them play on your terms and being competitive and trying to win each possession.
You have a lot of fans in Thailand, Could you please say anything to Thai fans who wakes up so early every morning?
Yeah, tell them thank you for the support. Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Chet, about the off-the-court bonding that the team's done. You said one of his funny or favorite moments was being on a plane, and just our focus and everything on the court. What did you say about this team off the court and any standout moments of that guy find?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tight-knit group. I think any team that gets this far in the postseason has to have that. I don't think anybody really finds success in this league without having that. And, I think that's one of the things that, makes navigating the regular season, especially the regular season, but, postseason in difficult times is just being able to have guys that, you can lean on, that can, get your mind off the game when you need to, but also help you relock in and focus on it when it is. And we got, 17 guys that all enjoy doing that and helping each other out.
Last question.
Chet Holmgren had a real strong start in game 3. That first half was excellent, kind of faded out a bit in the second half, but still finished with 20 points and 10 rebounds in that game 3 loss. Let's hear from Chet.
Talking about this game 4, how big is this for you guys? Because the Pacers can make 3-1 in the series, and at the same time, you guys can regain the home court advantage.
Yeah, it's extremely important. Every game is extremely important. It doesn't matter what the series score is. At the end of the day, it's the first team to 4 wins. So it's extremely important. There's no other way to put it. We have a great opportunity here coming up, to go out and win a basketball game and, like you said, take back home court advantage. So, we have to kind of understand the opportunity that we have and make the most of it.
Has their stamina surprised you at all? Their ability to kind of sort of like take a punch, keep coming, and then in the fourth quarter they seem to sometimes get a little stronger than they were earlier in the game. Does that surprise you, or were you kind of expecting that?
I wouldn't say it's surprising. That's kind of been I guess you could say, their identity leading up to this series. It's what's showed up in the games up to this point, and we have to figure out a way to counteract that and kind of change that and swing it in our favor, because it's not a winning formula to not be better than the other team in the fourth quarter.
I think that we're having a quicker turnaround between games, like you have with the before, change anything to your process?
I think it just it's just different. With 2 days, you have more rest, but with 1 day, you get to play quicker. So I guess it's just kind of different.
After a loss like yesterday, is it better to be able to put back on the foot quicker?
I definitely prefer to only have to sit with a loss for 1 day rather than 2, for sure.
Anything else for Chet? Thank you.
So through 3 games, what have you seen from Chet Holmgren, and how can OKC even utilize him more?
I think he's played well, overall, but I think he's also played exceptional in spurts. But I think when he has his lows is when he's out there by himself as the single big. And I think at times, Coach Dagnall, I would love to see him go back and forth with Hartenstein and him playing together a little bit more. And I think also if you go have him handling the basketball, I'd love to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander set the screen role for him, because Nembhard is staying so close to Shai. It might loosen him up. But I think also for him is find a way to play a little bit lower, center of gravity, and also kind of destroy these guys on the glass. I would love to see him get more rebounds. He's not rebounding bad, but he's got to have one of those big games where he has 15, 16, or 17 rebounds. But I think also for him is find a way to get himself more and more to the free throw line. But coaching staff has to help him, and I think they need to play bigger.
Yeah, and that matchup with him and Miles Turner, again, he was great in that first half, Chet Holmgren, but in that second half, it seems like Turner really got the best of him.
Yeah, Miles Turner is, big guy, heavy. He's going to lean on him versus if he was playing against Siakam. Siakam's a good defender, has some size, some length, but just that girth will not weigh down, I would think, a Chet Holmgren. He'll still be able to take the bump on the drive and to be able to pivot and make another move.
All right, more still to come here from the OKC side of things. We'll hear from Isaiah Hartenstein. He's going to be speaking to the media in moments ahead of Game 4, which goes on Friday.